Okay, Ken. So let's talk a little bit about this demand and supply model, because it is the way prices are determined, and we've seen that it's a way of providing signals for the allocation of resources.
The market, any market, as we talked about, consists of buyers and sellers. And what we actually plan to do with our simplified little model is to show that buyers behave in a certain way. If we hold the majority of factors affecting their decision making constant, except the impact of price, we'll actually come up with what we call a down-sloping demand curve, which shows that there's an inverse relationship between price and quantity. So you can imagine consciously, price goes up, normal response, quantity willing demanded goes down, and vice versa. From the supplier side, from their profit motivated sort of thinking, if you like, they're keen to supply more at higher prices. But clearly when we look at our little model, it's kind of neat really that there's only one price that actually clears the market, only one price where the quantity willingly demanded is equal to the quantity willingly supplied. And that's what we call our equilibrium price.
Okay, so now in fact, I like to think that we actually, without realizing, we notice this equilibrium price often. For instance, we go to a house auction and there's bidding between suppliers and demanders for houses, and then there'll be a price at which suppliers and demanders will be happy with that price.
True, and that's a unique situation where supply in the marketplace at an auction is only one.
That's right, yes.
But you're right, as the price is bid up, people drop out. So
that's right.
That's what we call our rationing function of prices.
Exactly.
So it excludes some potential buyers.
Yes.
So people's willingness to buy up the top end of the demand curve, they're the ones that will end up as the victors in a house auction.
In a house auction, yes.
Exactly.
And the other illustration I like to use is that if you see a sale on Boxing Day or something, there's a mass of people there.
Yeah.
Their incomes are given, their preferences are given, the prices are given,
Yeah.
and of course what it's doing is illustrating that they imagine prices to fall, and therefore they're prepared to buy more, so they queue up for it.
Exactly right, that's a perfect example.
Yes.
That's quite true.
Okay.
And then we go to the situation where you get disturbances by or from other factors, which we relax that ceteris paribus assumption. So
which we've actually defined in the model. I mean, we've talked about all these factors. We've concentrated on explaining the shapes of the curves through the relationship between prices and quantities, but these other factors are now things that we're going to disturb.
The non-price determinants determine the position of the demand and supply curves.
Yes.
And they can clearly change.
Absolutely.
For example, the RBA, the Reserve Bank, drop interest rates. Right?
Yes.
What's the immediate impact you'd expect to think? So if you're a business person, you need to be aware to factor that into your decision making. You'd say, okay, that's a factor. A key factor affecting demand is people's income. An interest rate cut for those that are servicing a standard variable loan, they actually have now more PDI, more personal disposable income.
Yes.
We can anticipate in our little model a rightward shift of demand. It will intersect our supply curve in a new equilibrium, etc., etc. So you can anticipate that the price is going to rise.
And what economics, I think, helps us do, but doesn't solve our problems, is it helps us to structure our thinking about these issues. For instance, in the case you've just cited, a business person, let's say a butcher, is going to say, well, the latest budget is going to hit people's incomes. How is that going to impact upon my butchery? Well, we know, for instance, that when incomes fall, people switch their purchases away from high-priced items to lower-priced items. They tend to buy more liver and offal, and what we call inferior goods. So a butcher needs to be thinking about these to anticipate that into the future.
And the same applies when the Arbitration Commission actually awards an award pay rise in terms of hourly rates. So you need to be, you can visualise that as a left or upward shift of your supply curve,
Yes.
and you know that your production costs are in fact going to rise if you employ people in that industry. So,
And of course, we will look at those production cost finer points in later modules. But you're quite right.
we
that-
will,
that- yeah.
and the response of most businesses is think, oh, well, I need to put my prices up.
Yes.
But of course, what we need to look at now is to say, okay, if we've established the law of demand, which actually says that price and quantity are inversely related, I put my prices up, I can anticipate a decrease in quantity demanded. But by how much? How sensitive are consumers going to be to my price rise? You might want to look at other ways of offsetting that cost increase by, say, looking at aspects of technology, aspects of productivity, which you might want to access, for example, through the government's $20,000 allocation to small businesses.
Ken, we're racing ahead here. We're racing ahead because we must go back and realise that we were talking about a purely competitive market.
Sorry,
And we were saying that we have price takers.
Yes.
By definition.
Yes.
But discussion of cost there is important because we'll see in later modules that effectively for price takers is the only thing they can really control.
It is. In fact, the pricing decision for them is a no-brainer.
Is a no-brainer.
They have to accept the price that the market throws up.
Exactly.
That's true. So we'll find out that they face a rather interesting little demand curve of their own.
Of their own, exactly.
Yeah.
But again, we have to look at the mechanics of that.
We've gone too far.
Yeah, we've gone too far.
What we need to look at initially is to how the market restores balance when surpluses and shortages are created by shifts in either demand or supply, by changes in one or more of those non-price determinants.
Yes.
That's the key issue, the fact that those markets will actually re-equilibrate and establish a new equilibrium that clears the market.
Absolutely. And of course, the next video we're going to do is going to show how it's also important for businesses to understand the degree of responsiveness of their product and their demand and supply to changes in these variables.
Absolutely crucial, and you've touched on one of those really, really core aspects of economic theory and learning that is actually so important to business decision making, and that notion of price elasticity of demand.
Or income elasticity.
That's right.
Or cross price.
That's right.
Exactly. So, and these really measure the responsiveness of quantities to these different variables. So
How
changes,
sensitive.
how sensitive they are.
That's right. That's right. Crucial.
For another time. Another video.
I'll look forward to that, mate.
Okay.
Okay, good on you.